So why do you not get what you want, even when you pray for it? And we said there were 3 reasons about it. Reason number 1, you don't get what you want because you don't know what you want. Reason number 2, don't get what you want because you don't know what you want. And reason number 3, you don't get what you want because you don't know what you want. Okay. There are a few reasons for that. Don't feel bad about that. Answering the question about what you want is a very difficult question to answer. If you're a focused person and your life is going in the direction that you want, okay, so maybe it's not so hard for you. But there are other people, and I'm finding out that it's almost like it feels like a majority of people are saying, well, I really don't know what I want. And when you're young, not such a big surprise. If your world has been small, if you've had limited exposure to things outside of your circle, your family circle, or maybe your community, church circle, and believe it or not, there are a lot of people whose lives really don't extend very much beyond their neighborhood, perhaps church, maybe their jobs, but probably not too far from that. So your exposure has a lot to do with you knowing what you want. You may not have access to things that promote vision. You may be in a place where everybody is kind of sharing the same goals and the same dreams, and so nothing that you see is really appealing. There are always those people that you meet that are very free-spirited, and they're like trying things that nobody else in the circle or in the group are trying. Always those people that are stretching out and they're traveling a little bit more. They're trying things. Some of us paint by the numbers. We do what we've been told to do, and we don't deviate even a little bit. But then there's always that 1 or 2 friends that we have that said, listen, I ain't doing it, I'm out. And they're trying stuff, and it's a great thing to be that way. A lot of people are afraid to be like that. That is a wonderful thing. It's a little hard on the parents, because when you have free-spirited children, they're trying this, they're trying that, and their children going to do that anyway, But I'm talking about the really free-spirited ones. And so those kinds of people tend to know a little bit more about what they want because they've seen more. They've been exposed to more. So they have more. In an environment when you are limited, your experiences in your environment are limited. When you only have, we like to say we don't have many friends. If you have 1 or 2 friends, you're lucky. I don't mean friendship in that deep sense, but I'm saying that if you don't have a good network, perhaps that's a better word. If you don't have a good network of people that you are interacting with on a regular basis, when you're in a closed environment and your choices are limited or your expectations are limited, your hopes are limited, then what's going to happen? So you have a closed kind of community and your experiences are very limited. You don't have a point of reference. You don't have enough around you to look at and compare. Then the only thing you're left with is a feeling of unfulfillment. And that can be very frustrating and disappointing and discouraging. So when you think about when you don't have what you want, the first thing you want to ask yourself is, do I have enough exposure to other things that are outside of my comfort zone? Am I willing to take trips, weekend trips or day trips somewhere? And I know at the end of the week or when you have a day off, you're tired and you don't, this is my one day to get the laundry done, get the shopping done, do this, run errands, whatever. But you know what? if you take some time to do something a little bit different, the laundry will be there. If you don't shop, you're not going to be hungry. You'll get the food. You'll get what you need. If you have a family, you can reschedule some things so that you can allow difference to come into your life so that you can see other things, experience other things, hear other things. Some people would not listen to anything but gospel music, just would not do it. Or they may only listen to classical music. But there's so many genres of music that are beautiful and wonderful. You can still have your favorite, but you can also expose yourself or allow yourself to be exposed to other things as well. And those things are the kinds of things that pour substance into your life. It pours color. That's a good way to put it. It pours color in your life. So everything isn't just black, white, and gray. You have shades and blends of color in your personality because you've seen and you've allowed things. And guess what? TV, not enough. TV is when we call programs, you want to see certain programs, the whole thing is programmed. You're only going to see certain things. I don't care what anybody tells you. You're only going to see certain commercials that sell you certain brands, certain kinds of entertainment. That's it. It's all capital based. It's all about money. And it may be even about some other things for those people who are kind of conspiracy theorists. Television is not enough. Believe me, you're very, very limited. You can look at world news. That's a little bit more helpful, yes. That'll give you a little bit more exposure. But guess what? That gets depressing too because they talk about negative news all the time. So you have to be very, very deliberate about opening your world. And now that it's open, now you have to be careful about what you let in. But that has much to do with knowing what you want. Because knowing what you want means you have to be aware of what you like. Let me confess to something. I really, really only like vanilla ice cream. I'll just be honest, okay? Like strawberry, okay, maybe. You could put strawberry in there. But I am probably never going to ask for it. If it shows up on the, okay. First of all, I'm not a dessert person. So if I go to the store, even when I go to, when I would take my kids and my grandchildren to, Baskin Robbins, and they had, they had 39 flavors. I remember when they went to 39 flavors, and I used to think, I really don't care, because all I eat is vanilla. But then I narrowed it down, like I really only like vanilla Breyers ice cream. That's it. That's it. After I got older, lactose intolerant, can't even eat the ice cream. But when I sneak a little bit, it's going to be Breyers vanilla. Now that is a closed kind. I've closed myself off from experiencing other flavors, and they must be good because these stores are like staying in business and they're always booming. So there are so many flavors that are appealing and that people like them. I won't get to them because I just like vanilla. But, okay. So, but that's just an example to show you how you can have a closed mind about things. You can be closed about just about anything. If you like it that way, okay. But it's not going to serve you well in the long run in terms of finding out what you want in the bigger space of life. Ice cream, no big deal. Who cares? Some people don't eat ice cream at all. However, in the bigger space of life, you don't want to close yourself off. Your circle of friends and associates, they're important to examine because if they're all in the same place and they have the same experience you have and the same limited exposure, if that is the case, then, you're like a whole bunch of people in a boat going nowhere. because everybody is just sitting around talking about the same stuff all the time. And you know what? You know some situations like that. I know you do. I know you do, because that's pretty common. People sit around talking about the same things, and there's nothing else to talk about because nobody else is getting out, bringing in any fresh air. You're just breathing the same stuff over again. And if it sounds like I'm being, kind of yucky about it, I'm not. I'm really just exaggerating a point, because when you begin to feel unfulfilled in your life and you don't know what it is you want that would make you feel better, I'm just telling you some things that maybe you want to take a look at. That's all. That's all. If you don't know there's anything to reach for, then you won't reach. You've got to see things. Other than that, you will just kind of roll through life and make do. You don't want the only time that you leave town is to go to a relative's funeral or a friend's wedding, and then in a couple of days you zip back into your comfort zone. I mean, now let me clarify something here. I have to push it, because if it wasn't for my work, I probably wouldn't go anywhere, because I seriously like being home. I love being in my space. My office is now, my worship space has grown, so now I actually work in my worship space, and it gets nicer and nicer and nicer. It's much more difficult for me to leave. But you know what? I got to get out of here sometimes. I go to the gym often. Create things for yourself to do, and where other people are, because then you'll bump into them and you'll say little things and you'll find out little information. So you kind of don't want to roll through life just making do, because it makes you a dull person. Guess what? Nobody's going to tell you that, right? It does. And nobody said you have to be exciting and have a personality that is just like splashed with bling, and I'm exaggerating. You have to be who you are. But I'm suggesting again that if you don't know what you want, you might want to take some of this stuff into consideration. If you do take it into consideration, that is, and you decide that you like things the way they are, fine. You're that much farther ahead. But if you don't check it out, if you don't at least examine it, you're not going to know. I spent several years in a church. It was a kind of nice church, except it was really very closed. It wasn't necessarily small. I guess you would consider it a moderate-sized church, but everybody came from the neighborhood, and it was a stifling place to be, because nothing new ever happened. And so all the men were there looking for a wife, to them, which was a housekeeper maid that they didn't have to pay. And the women were all looking for a husband so they could all say to the other person, the other sister, that they had a husband. And hopefully, it was a banging plus if the husband you had came to church. That was a status symbol right there. And then if you had kids, that was wonderful. So, after a while, you start seeing past the facade of things, and you're saying, all of y'all ain't happily married. And this is, like in this couple hours space of time in church, everything looks good. But you know what? I don't want this for me. I looked around and I said, if this is the extent of it, I'm out. And I always had that kind of personality that I may not know where out is and where I'm going, but I know it's not going to be here. I'm out. Now, that's just me. Other people don't have that kind of constitution, let's say, that will allow them to do that. Or they have other reasons that tie them to a place. You have to work with that. And if all of that is okay with you, then that's quite fine. Not to change. I'm speaking into the spirit of those who are not satisfied. Those who don't know what they want and they are searching. If you're happy and comfortable where you are, then you know what? I'm not talking to you for the next few minutes, but we want to make sure that those who feel a sense or a need for freedom, we want to help you find that. That's why we spent so many weeks talking about free will that God gives us. Free will to make a choice. Free will is there for you to use it. If you don't use the free will, if you're not doing anything with it, I mean, free will is there to be used, to be exercised. Something needs to be happening. Otherwise, it's like a gift in a box that you never open. So there are those who have that itch in their spirit. Something is going on, and we here at the Well are just trying to open it up and say, give it a try. You know, you don't have to stick with anything. If you try something, you don't like it, go back to the way it was. Not a problem. Nobody's taking numbers and giving out penalties. This is a free life. It's your life, and you have to control it. That's what we're sharing here. I love you to pieces. I'm excited that you're here. See you in the spirit next week. Namaste.